All right, welcome back. Now, on our next story right here, we are going to be discussing about Pixar. Yes, there are some Pixar news that we're going to be looking into, and what perfect timing to go and talk about Pixar, especially when they have recently released their latest animated feature, Elio. And before I continue, I just want to go and make a quick comment about this because I know that when it comes to Elio, a lot of people have been discussing about how it did at the box office. And the answer to that is, well, not very well. And already we're seeing a whole bunch of articles that would go and discuss about how Elio had a disastrous opening. It's one of the worst openings that Pixar has ever had. And already people have decided that they're just going to go and give Elio the L, already labeling it as a box office failure. And not only that, but it was also a moment that I've seen some people really go out of their way to go and express nihilism and doomerism, basically saying that, well, Elio's a failure. Now we will never receive another original animated feature again, and now Disney will only be doing sequels and live action remakes for the rest of our lives. You know, like I've seen a bunch of people like really going that far to express how upset they were with Elio's box office results. Now, before I go and, get into the stories that we're going to get into, I just want to say this. Keep in mind, people, that 2 years ago, people have said the exact same thing about Elemental. And if you remember what happened with that film, it got the same articles, it got the same people to go and say that, oh, it's a flop, it's one of the worst openings that Pixar has ever gotten and stuff like that. But then over time, throughout the summer, it actually managed to do pretty well to the point of becoming a sleeper hit, where even if it had a bad opening, it went on to go and actually become successful for Pixar and Disney. So what I want to go and say is that who's to say that maybe Elio could actually have that as well? Maybe the same fate could occur with Elio, where it didn't start off well, but then over time, it could actually go and become successful in its own right. Now, one thing that I want to say why I think it could be possible is mainly because of the fact that the word of mouth on Elio is very positive, more positive than I may even expect. Like, I've also seen some people, like, they would be like some of the harshest Disney critics out there who would not hesitate to throw their hate at Disney no matter what, where they would go and watch Elio and they would come back and say, you know what, that's actually pretty good. So even by internet standards, the word of mouth on Elio has been very positive. So I can honestly imagine that could be the saving grace of this movie, where over time, like, it'll just make like little bit of financial gains throughout each weekend and throughout the summer as well, to the point where it would gradually become successful, kind of like what we have seen. Now, of course, there is that possibility that maybe I'm wrong and that Elio would ultimately become a failure. But what I'm just saying is that it's best to go and have a wait and see attitude on how things are going to go with Elio. You know, I don't think we should go and immediately rule out if it's a failure, because there is that likelihood we could see it become the next Elemental, where it could become successful just much later in the summer by just performing more steadily week after week. So in terms of Elio, I'm just going to say now, we'll wait and see with how that film goes. But this is not necessarily to discuss about Elio. This is to go and discuss about two particular Pixar stories that was revealed during AniMat's. And the first one I want to go into is actually, well, this one came in first. So let's go and discuss about the new director of Incredibles 3. Yes, it was revealed that for the upcoming third installment of The Incredibles, they have actually found a new director. Instead of Brad Bird, they actually brought in Peter Sohn, whom, well, coincidentally enough, was the director of Elemental, and now he's going to be on board to work on Incredibles 3. Now, some of you might be wondering, though, what about Brad Bird, though? Where is he in the picture? Is he still going to be involved with The Incredibles? Is he going to still work on Incredibles 3 if he's not going to be the director? Well, the answer to that is yes. In fact, the best way to go and describe what Brad Bird is going to do is that he's going to be taking on a very similar role to what Phil Lord and Chris Miller has done for the Spider-Verse films, where he shall be both the producer and writer. In fact, it even states here that he is specifically going to be writing the screenplay, and he will be the producer alongside Dana Murphy. And I just want to go into this and to go and make a quick comment to go and say that, honestly, it is a very interesting choice, and that, honestly, I'm actually quite surprised that Brad Bird is going to be taking a bigger role than I expected. Because I'll just say now, the main reason why Brad Bird is not coming back as a director of Incredibles 3 is mainly because he's actually more busy, or currently he is busy at Skydance Animation to go and work on his Ray Gunn movie. That's apparently still in production. And apparently, from what I've heard, it is possible we could be getting it soon, where they might be planning for a 2026 release date. I don't know, but that seems like it's going to be the plans from what I have heard. I could be wrong, though. But however, like, even though he would still have that, I'm surprised, though, that not only will he be the producer, but also the writer of this. So Brad Bird is still going to be heavily involved here to go and work on The Incredibles. And of course, I just want to go and state now, I mean, I'm sure he'll probably do more than just be the writer and the producer, because let's be honest, who else is going to go and voice Edna Mode? So we might as well go and add that as well. There's no way that they can make another Incredibles movie without Edna Mode. But then we have to go and look into the main topic of this, which is the fact that Peter Sohn is going to be the director. And that's a bit of a surprising choice. Why Peter Sohn in particular? Why have this man to go and direct The Incredibles? Well, the main reason is actually because Peter Sohn actually has a long history with Brad Bird. In fact, Brad Bird is the main reason why Peter Sohn has a career, especially when he went straight out of college and his first major animation job was to actually be an animator with Brad Bird. In fact, there's actually a bit of a highlight here on this article on The Hollywood Reporter, in which it actually highlights a bit of their relationship, in which it states here, Sohn and Bird have a long history of collaboration. Sohn has worked on every animated Brad Bird film, including The Incredibles and Incredibles 2, up until this year's Ray Gunn. Bird has been a mentor to Sohn, and Sohn was specifically chosen to carry the Incredibles torch by Bird and Pixar Chief Creative Officer Pete Docter. Sohn is a Pixar veteran, having voiced characters in various movies from the studio, like Ratatouille as Emile, Monsters University as Squishy, and Lightyear as Socks. Elemental, Sohn's second movie that he directed at Pixar, was nominated for Best Animated Feature at the Oscars last year. And this is also worth noting that on top of directing Elemental, he also made his directorial debut with The Good Dinosaur. So in that regards, personally, the more I think about it, the more I feel like it is actually a very good choice to go and have Peter Sohn, because he actually had experience working on both Incredibles films and has a very good knowledge on the craftsmanship of Brad Bird. So if there's anybody who can go and actually stay true to that Brad Bird formula or that Brad Bird style of filmmaking, it would definitely be Peter Sohn. Plus the fact that he has already been proven to be a pretty good storyteller. Like, I know the movies that he has directed, they're not necessarily the best among Pixar films, or at least most people would feel like they're not the best, like The Good Dinosaur or Elemental. But personally, I feel like his directing job and the storytelling skills that he has shown in those movies, they're actually pretty good. And I think they could actually be worth proceeding onto his, proceeding to go and tell a new story related to The Incredibles. So for me, it actually makes me optimistic with what's going to be in store with Incredibles 3. And it shows that it is going to be in good hands for sure. Like, we got Brad Bird, who will still be heavily involved in the project, not just as a producer and as a writer, but also we got Peter Sohn directing the film. So already right there, it gives me a lot more confidence with how things are going to be with Incredibles 3. But this is not the only thing that I want to go and talk about related to Pixar, because then there is some other announcements that have been made. Now, there have been a few, of course, in terms of showing previews of Elemental and Hoppers, and, well, not Elemental, sorry, with Elio and Hoppers. And then there's also a little bit of a discussion of what's going to be in store with Toy Story 5, in which not only did they discuss about the concept of technology versus toys and stuff like that, but they've also mentioned that Jessie is going to be having a more prominent role on this feature. So Jessie will be one of the main characters, per se, of Toy Story 5. But the biggest announcement that they have made there, it's not any of their recent upcoming stuff or the things that they have already announced. It's not about Toy Story 5. It's not about Hoppers. And it's not even about Elio. It's actually going to be about a brand new original feature, which is called Gatto. And they have revealed that with this one, it is going to be coming out in 2027. And as you can imagine, with a movie called Gatto, yes, it's about a cat in Italy. So of course they got to bring in the team of Luca to go and work on this project. Specifically, it will be brought to us by Luca director Enrico Casarosa and producer Andrea Warren. So you might be wondering, okay, so we got another new original Pixar film coming up. So what is Gatto all about? Well, on my source on Variety, it actually has a pretty big description of what this is about. So I'll go and read you over here, to which it states, this new Pixar film returns to Italy, Casarosa's birth country, this time to Venice, where after years of maneuvering the seaside, an extraordinary city, a black cat named Nero begins to question whether he's lived the right life. A partial music lover, at least his tale is, and non-swimming feline who is indebted to a local feline mob boss, Nero finds himself in a quandary and is forced to forge a truly unexpected friendship with Maya, a street artist who adopts him against his will. Together, those two individually form an odd couple, but this relation might finally lead Nero to find his purpose, unless the mysterious and dark side of Venice gets the better of him first. So yeah, it's basically a cat trying to get away from the cat mafia and then forms a bond with a street artist. That's basically the plot line that we have gotten with Gatto for now. And once again, they have mentioned that this will be coming soon in 2027. And honestly, when I heard about the announcement that we are once again getting a brand new Pixar animated film, an original Pixar animated feature, it kind of made me reflect upon what people have been saying about Pixar. Because if you've been on the internet or you've traveled around social media, you're going to get those people who will be very much nihilistic, or they will be very much like filled with doomerism in terms of Pixar's future, where they would be a lot more upset and would primarily be focusing on the sequels, such as Toy Story 5, especially Toy Story 5, on top of stuff like Incredibles 3 and Coco 2. But then, funny enough, like when you see those people making those comments that, oh, Pixar's gonna make nothing but sequels, they often forget about not only the upcoming original films we're getting, but also that we have, lately, we have actually gotten more original stuff from Pixar than actual sequels. I mean, when we look into what we're getting right now and in the future, like we're actually going to be getting 3 years in a row of original animated features from Pixar. Like this year, we just got Elio. Then next year, we're going to be getting another original film from the creator of We Bare Bears, by the way, with Hoppers. And then the year after that, now we're getting another original animated feature called Gatto. And the funny thing is that when you look into this decade, now, like, we have actually gotten a lot more animated we have gotten a lot more original animated features in this decade so far from Pixar than we have throughout the entire 2010s. It's as if ever since they kicked out John Lasseter, Pixar got a lot more freedom to go and create more original stuff. And by the way, this is not even to mention about win or lose, by the way. And when we look into the past of what we have gotten with the original films, like we have gotten Soul, we got Luca, we got Turning Red, and we got Elemental. So then when you go and then you add into the factor of what we got in the present and the future with Elio, Hoppers, and Gatto, so far, that's 7 original animated films in the 2020s. When you go and compare that to the 2010s, we have only gotten Brave, Inside Out, The Good Dinosaur, and Coco. That's it. The rest are nothing but sequels. With 2, in fact, we have even gotten 2 Toy Story sequels and 2 Cars sequels. So really, I think back of how people would go and react to, oh, Pixar is only making sequels. They're going to make a Toy Story 5. You know, it's kind of crazy to think that actually the reality is not necessarily true. And it's funny how, like, even though Hoppers was already announced and that people were aware that Elio was going to come, people have often forgot about those and were only fixated on the things that they don't necessarily want, like Toy Story 5. And honestly, it kind of makes me realize that there is a problem with the internet, and especially with the cartoon community, that they need to face. And that's the fact that they don't actually know what is going on behind the scenes at these studios. And I feel like, especially with the cartoon community, they need to stop pretending like they actually know. Because the truth of the matter is that we don't really know what's going on behind the scenes or all the projects that they have in store. Yes, there are the things that they have announced that they are currently working on, but there's also plenty of other projects that are still very early in development and that we don't officially know what they're going to do with it. Like, yes, there is going to be a bunch of sequels, but there's also going to be a bunch of original stuff that is also coming soon, or possibly be coming soon. And this is not just in regards to Pixar, but I would say this with all the other studios. Like, a great example is with, and you know what? I just realized another one I've forgotten, Onward. That's true. So that's 8 original animated features that we have gotten in the 2020 decade. I am so sorry that I have forgotten about that, but it further proves my point. And the thing is, when you go and look at, like, going back into the discussion about how people don't actually know what's going on behind the scenes, a great example of this is with Disney Animation. Because so far, the only projects that we know that they have coming soon are just the sequels. We only know that they're working on Zootopia 2, Frozen 3, and Frozen 4. But that does not mean that they're not working on any other projects or that they're working on any original projects. In fact, it was recently revealed that apparently Jared Bush did state that right now they have their 2D animation team and that they're currently working on crazy stuff. What are they working on? Honestly, we don't know. But the thing is that, like, there are going to be those people out there who will say that, oh, right now they're just working on sequels. That is not true. You cannot go and say that because you don't know if that's all that they're actually working on. And I think, honestly, this is a big problem with the internet and social media, where not only is it filled with pessimism and nihilism and stuff like that, but it's also people having the priority that they just want to be right, that they want to go and win the argument where they feel this way, and that they're right, and that they are right. They don't want to hear anything that would go and contradict what they say. Like, there are some people out there who are so pessimistic that they refuse to hear any form of contradiction to what they say or any form of possible optimism that people would go and actually say. Like, they would rather just go and shut that down because they want to be right about their pessimism and their negative view on companies like Disney or any other studio that's out there, or basically how they're upset with the mainstream studios out there. I'm even going to go and say this right now that honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if I get backlash for this segment right over here. I wouldn't be surprised if I get those people saying that I'm a Disney defender or I'm a Disney shill or whatever, because I'm not shedding Disney on a negative light and that I'm contradicting what the cartoon community is saying about them, that they're only making sequels that they don't want. They're just making all the, they're just going to be making so many Toy Story sequels and Cars sequels, and that they won't look into any original stuff or whatever. Like, I know that there is a chance that I'm going to be getting those comments because of how people are so pessimistic and prioritize wanting to be right than to actually know the facts. But again, this is a large problem with how the internet and the cartoon community is, where they think they know what's actually happening behind the scenes, but the truth is they don't. Unless you actually work at those respective studios, you don't really know what's going on. I mean, even with me, I could go and express my opinions. I could go and express my thoughts, my predictions, and I can assume what's going to be happening behind the scenes in stuff like Disney or Sony or any other studio. But I'm just only going to be making guesses. I don't truly know for a fact of what's actually happening behind the scenes. So in that regards, like, for me, I'm just making my guesses. I'm just making my opinions. Like, I'm not a full-on source of what's truly going on behind the scenes. And just to let you know, none of the other animation YouTubers are either. Like, you won't fully 100% know from people like Veilsky Bum or Saberspark or Shafrillas or any of those animation YouTubers out there. We're only making our guesses. We're just expressing our opinions based on what we know. But do any of us actually know what's going on behind the scenes? No. And we need to stop pretending like we actually do. Because if we think we know better of what's going on behind the scenes, then that's just being pretentious. So that's why I just want to go, like, with this whole thing, I just want to go and call out the pretentiousness. And from what we have been seeing with Pixar, it is actual proof that we don't know what they're doing behind the scenes, where people will go and go all, go into their doom mode, and they would write down, oh, Pixar is only going to be making sequels from now on, and Disney is just going to be giving us more live action remakes, and they're only going to be making movies that we don't want. Like, they're going to go and make their crazy comments like that. But when you see when you look into what they're actually doing, they're actually making more original stuff than ever. So that's why I just want to say, like, honestly, let's stop pretending like we know more than what we actually do. So that I just want to go and make that statement. So yeah, anyways, I know that I've spoken a lot about this, but now I would like to go and pass this on to the chat wall. And I'd like to ask you all, what do you all think about the Pixar announcements about Incredibles 3 and Gatto? So let me know what you all think. All right, so while Peter Son wasn't who I was expecting, this is all a surprise to be sure, but a welcome one. I loved his work with Elemental and The Good Dinosaur, and The Good Dinosaur is The Good Dinosaur, but now I'm excited to see him take on something outside his ballpark. As for Gatto, at first I thought this would just ride the flow craze, but honestly, this could end up becoming absolutely beautiful. And Toy Story 5, damn it, they did it. They won me over. But the thing is that, yeah, and that's another thing. Like, there is a lot of people who still try to be pessimistic with whatever Pixar or Disney is doing. And they're trying to say that Gatto is a Flow ripoff. But number one, you got to realize that animation takes a long time, and that I am pretty confident that Gatto was in production even before the people at Pixar was aware of Gatto. And two, I almost forgot about one extra detail about Gatto, is that apparently it's going to be more stylized, in which it actually states here, the Annecy crowd cheered at the announcement and went wild as Doctor unveiled animation tests of a distinct, unique hand-painted look, something Pixar has never shown before. The film appears to be rich in colors from Venetian setting and blends 2D hand-painted textures with cutting-edge CG animation. So we might end up getting Pixar's version of what we have gotten with films like The Wild Robot and Puss in Boots: The Last Wish. So that's going to be very exciting to see. All right, so anyways, let's see any other comments. Oh, well, we might as well go with the person literally called Pixar Girl. So Peter Sohn is directing Incredibles 3. Good for him. I hope the poor man won't get all the backlash from people whining. He did want to make Elemental a superhero movie, so I think it'll be a good thing for him. Gatto sounds cute, but I feel annoyed of people going to compare it to Flow or All Dogs Go to Heaven. Hoppers also sounds like it's weird but a fun time. I could speculate all about the production of these movies, but as Mr. Coates said, every movie is a miracle even to be made. Go Pixar. There you go. Let's see now. I'll get this out of the way. I'm done with this insert Pixar film flopped in opening weekend BS. Just wait, you guys. Elio's gonna do well later on. Now with that out of the way, I'm happy for Peter Sohn is doing Incredibles 3. I'm proud of him. While for Toy Story 5, the opening with the multiple Buzz Lightyear sounds awesome, and Gatto by Enrico Casarosa is going to be great. Pixar is indeed cooking. All right. I'm honestly very surprised that Peter Sohn is directing an Incredibles 3, not gonna lie. I'm on board with it. Given his incredible work on Elemental, it's no big deal that he'll direct the third film. Funny that the mugger, that Peter voiced in the first movie, from the first film is now directing it. As for Gatto, I bet it'll be really cute, especially with Enrico at the helm. I'm definitely hyped for both. Don't worry guys, Pixar will do fine. Honestly, you actually said it best. Honestly, I think Pixar is going to be okay, even with like the critics and the hecklers complaining on social media. Let's see. Happy to see Peter Sohn got something to work at Pixar with The Incredibles 3. Toy Story 5 sounds interesting, especially that the kid's tablet will be the villain of the film. Will the kid's tablet become good in the end, like Anxiety from Inside Out 2? But I am more excited about Gatto, not because I am a cat lover, but because of an interesting concept set in Italy. Again, by the way, are you releasing 2 reviews, K-Pop Demon Hunters and Elio this week? No, I'm just going to go and say right now that I'm currently working on my review of K-Pop Demon Hunters. This week, however, you're going to be getting the Elio review, and then the week after that, you're going to be getting K-Pop Demon Hunters, just to go and let you know. All right, don't necessarily have a lot of time, so I'm just going to go and read one more comment. Let's see. Keep in mind, I'm not even a fan of finales. Granted, I could see why people might be against follow-ups due to the execution of characters and everything else, but it also expands many things. That's another reason why, despite going through madness of not wanting to go back to the past, I'm thrilled of follow-ups because they're also the opportunity to see how much they have the 3D execution have evolved and changed. Granted, there would be overconfidence of the follow-ups having moments of bad execution of the 3D process. Okay. Actually, you know what? I'm going to go and read one more comment just in case. Let's see. I am excited to see The Incredibles 3, even if Brad Bird is not directing the film, but have Peter Sohn as the director. I'm not sure for Toy Story 5. I'll have to wait and see. I am excited to see Gatto. This would be the beautiful hand-drawn animated style from Pixar, and the director of Luca is directing it. All right, so with that said, that should do it for our little Pixar talk.